and arms at this Toastmasters. He's graduated from United States Naval Academy. He actually has served as a submarine officer for 5 years. After getting out of the Navy, he is specialized in software implementation, mostly in power and utility industries. Of course, this is the home of Duke Power. So this is really great. And for those of you who are starting their businesses, he's also right now as an angel investor. So you may want to take him out to lunch or something. On his spare time, he takes his beautiful wife, Jolie, to travel around the world. So please, put your hands together for Vince.
Hello, Toastmasters, and welcome guests. What will your legacy be? Have you ever thought of it? What are you going to be remembered for? I mean, today's society tries to tell us how we should live our lives and how we should be remembered. And it's all me, 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 me. I mean, let's face it. We're always inundated every time we turn on the TV, open a magazine, and look and see, who has the biggest house on the block? Who has the most high-powered job? What car are you driving? What clothes are you wearing? Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, none of that will matter. In fact, you will never be remembered for that. Being remembered in your legacy will come down to something very simple. Making the right choices no matter what the world throws at you and realizing that you're part of something bigger. And I'm going to share with you tonight some examples of people that have done this. They have inspired me to start looking at my legacy as I hope they will to you. The first thing I want you to do is imagine yourself locked up in prison for 27 years of your life. You go in and maybe around 21 and you come out at 50. And you ask, well, what have I done? Did I do some violent crime? Did I, do some heinous act? No, it's just simply what you believed in. You were put in prison by people there because of your beliefs and what you believed in was right. And then imagine after 27 years, you get out. Now I want to know honestly, I want you to think to yourself, what would you feel like? Would you feel sorry, I just lost 27 of the best years of my life? Or would you be angry, say, hey, I'm going to get revenge on these people that put me in? Well, let me tell you what Nelson Mandela did. On the very day he was released from prison, he gave a speech to his country in which he vowed to unite and heal his country. And the first thing he had to do, he said, was forgive the people who put him in prison for 27 years. Folks, that's greatness. That's realizing you're something much bigger than you. His country was much bigger than me or him, and that's what he realized. And it didn't stop there. He went on to become president of South Africa, heal his country, end apartheid, and won the Nobel Peace Prize. And furthermore, he went on to become one of the leaders of this world that people still look up to, and presidents and leaders around the world have went to him countless times in times of crisis. He defined his legacy by realizing that there was a world much bigger than him that he needed to leave a footprint for. So now I want you to imagine coming back to the United States in the 50s and 60s in the South. And that was a time of high racial tension. And if you remember, that was the height of segregation, that was the height of Jim Crow laws, and a small child born into this area. In fact, it was Tennessee. And contracted disease, polio, at an early age. And she beat polio, but eventually, the polio had caused such a ravage on her body that her left leg was mangled. And they said she would never walk without a brace. Now, I guess, I want to ask you again, what would you feel like? Would you say, hey, I just had some bad luck, maybe I didn't get the medical treatment because of the color of my skin during this time? Maybe that's just how life is. Maybe I just won't be a world-class athlete, but, I can go on and have a pretty decent life. Well, not this little girl, because she walked without her brace every night until she could walk perfectly, with her sister watching the door because her parents were told to stop her because she would never, they told her would never walk right without brakes. But she would learn to walk and she would run. And boy, would she run. Because I'm talking about Wilma Rudolph, who won 3 gold medals in the 1960 Olympics. But again, that was just about her. She realized she was part of the bigger world. She would come back to the United States and be a champion in the civil rights movement and the women's rights movement because she wanted to make sure that any child in the South or wherever they lived in this country could have an equal opportunity in medical care, education, and have all the opportunities, no matter what race, color, sex they were. And now I kind of want to change things a little bit. I want you to imagine having everything you want in your life. You have all the material. You're a millionaire many times over. In fact, not only are you a millionaire, you are jet-setting around the world. You're hanging with the best parties, the Academy Awards. And then one day you wake up and you're completely paralyzed. Can't move anything. You're on a respirator. Now, most of us would probably feel pretty bad. Why, God, did you do this to me? In fact, you always hear that thing, too, where people will say, if I'm not living a good life, please pull the plug. Would you want that? Well, let me tell you about Jean Bobby. This is his life. He was the famous French editor of the magazine Elle. And during that time, it was the most famous magazine in its time. He was traveling with kings. He was in parties. He said he was so rich he didn't pay for anything. Which is kind of a funny thing. The richer you get, the less you pay. But what I'm trying to say is, at 43 years old, he had a massive stroke. In 3 days, he woke up. 3 days later, he woke up and could move nothing. It was on a respirator. In fact, the only thing he would move eventually was his left eye. And he would learn to communicate with it, with the help of people. And he'd form words and letters, and finally, he'd be able to form paragraphs. And with the help of people, he'd write a book. And this book would become a bestseller. If you're interested, it's the Diving Bell and the Butterfly. It was made into a movie, and they're talking about making it into another movie. It would talk about before, his experience before in life and after. And here's the funny thing about it. If you read that book, and what seemed to be his worst day of his life, it's what we remember him for. His legacy was defined not by all the material success he had, all the wealth he had. That's not how he's remembered. Today, he's still remembered for that book, which still inspires people who have similar conditions, who went through similar trauma. So what am I trying to tell you today? I'm trying to tell you that these people realized they were part of something bigger than themselves. They also realized that no matter what the world threw at them, they could handle it. I mean, let's face it, life throws us some hard things. And you never know what's coming your way. But no matter what life throws at you, you have to make a decision on how you react to it. These people live what I call the 3 R's. No reserve, no retreat, and no regret. That's how they live their lives. And I want you to embrace those, because you never know when your moment's going to come. It could be 27 years in the making, or it could be some physical ailment that you turned your world upside down, that you have to go on. But realize you're part of something bigger. Remember the 3 R's: no reserve, no retreat, no regret. Embrace them and start defining your legacy. Toastmasters.